So we're here for Werribee TV at Avalon Airport Oval in our lovely new function space here at Churnsides by the river, and we are with John Lamont, the departing coach, John Lamont, who is officially relieved of game day duties now, but he's with us for another few weeks. So we thought we'd take the opportunity to catch up and reflect on the second half of season 2018. John, a couple of weeks now for the dust to settle since the final game. How are you feeling about everything?
Yeah, it's new and a little bit different. I'm pleased, though, that I've got the opportunity to tie up some loose ends. We had a recruiting meeting today, so yeah, just talking about our retention and the way going forward. And obviously, I've got a lesser role now that I'm not actually coaching in 2019, but there's obviously a certain amount of players that I've had a level of recruiting wise. I'm meaning that I've had a level of contact with over the journey that. Yeah, are we going to follow up with those players, those sorts of things. So that's the people out there. That's why I'm still sort of involved in a few things. And obviously we've still got our presentation night, got the Liston Trophy next week. So there's still a few loose ends to tie up. So yeah, it's a little bit strange having coached for so long. In the times that I have moved, I've always had somewhere to go, whereas I've stepped off the cliff a little bit this time and not sure exactly what the future holds. So it's a little bit odd, but it's still great to be here and have the opportunity to finish the roll off, so to speak.
We caught up midway through the year, and at that stage, unfortunately, we only had 2 wins to reflect on. Now 7, so 5 over the back half of the season, a much more positive result. What's been your general take on the second half of the year?
Well, it's no real surprise to me, even allowing for some injuries to some good players that went out of the team in the second half of the year. And I'm talking Matt Hansen and Nick Knott and Josh Corbett at the back end. It's no surprise to me that our playing group won those games in the back half of the year and finished off strongly because they're a new group. When we played at Torquay in round 1, I think we had 11 debutants in the Werribee jumper, first time, and also Porter and Maloney returning to the club. So big influx of new players. So the chemistry and synergy and those sort of things, it just takes time. New game plan for those players, working in with each other. So we were playing our best football at the end of the year, which, again, it was no surprise with a new group coming together. And early on in the year, obviously, we were still training out of the compound, and we only got back into our facility here in April. So yeah, it was a really positive second half of the year, and something that, the club and the players, just should build that enthusiasm for 2019.
Plenty of standout performances, both at an individual and team level over the back half of the season. Any that stand out as being particularly memorable or impressive for you?
Obviously, Sam Collins' year continued to grow, and so much so that he's going to be a real chance for the Liston Trophy on Monday night. Josh Corbett's form continued prior to his injury. Joe Maishman's second half of the year, I thought he took a big step forward as a genuine VFL midfielder. Some of his performances were terrific. Dane McFarlane continued to grow in the second half of the year as that rebounding defender still, but defending well. Our great game on television out here against Essendon, where we got up by a point. Terrific game. Josh Porter kicked 5 that day, and Andrew Hooper kicked the winning goal. That was a great day and some real great performances. Another great game here. We won Box Hill, beating Box Hill here. Matty Brett's mark out on that other side of the ground late in the game. So, yeah, there were some terrific performances without a doubt.
Josh Corbett was a player also that we'd reflected on at the first half of the year. Unfortunately, we didn't see much of him over the second half with his injury, but I guess the pleasing thing there was Hooper and Porter, who you've already mentioned, Joel Bennett to an extent as well, gave an opportunity for some guys to step up.
Without a doubt. And on the issue of Corbett and his injury, so he had his final appointment at this stage with the eye specialist and really making really positive progress there. So that shouldn't hinder his ability to get involved at the AFL draft combine. and reports are that there'll be no long-term problems with that eye, so shouldn't be a reason for him not to get drafted now, because it was eye injury, like they're pretty rare in footy and a lot of unknowns, but really positive result. So yes, you're playing good footy and then went out of the team, but as you say, those players got an opportunity to step up. But even like Jordan Butts and Scott Carlin, a couple of boys from under 18 footy that came in those last games and had positive impact for us. Matty Munro's year, whilst people tend to look at forwards and how many goals have they kicked, Muncher also got heavily involved in the score assist side of the game, so had really good impact. Ben Maloney, in his role playing forward, wing and on ball, was able to get on the scoreboard for us as well. Jack Berry, resting ruckman, got a couple of goals for us against Box Hill, which was much needed. So those efforts by players stepping up meant a lot, because obviously you need to kick a winning score, and Corbett was playing so well. So it was a big loss, but it was really pleasing the rest of the boys stood up and covered for him.
Great stories, Butts and Carlin, those that you mentioned. Unfortunately, they're not actually Werribee contracted players, at least yet anyway. But the 23rd player always throws up some great stories, and there were some great stories from Werribee listed players this year. Bennett being one of them, but Keegan Gray and Jack Henderson, two others. There's some exciting young talent there, isn't there?
Oh, without a doubt. And for those boys like Henderson and Gray, first year in, Ben McNamara, first year in, for them to have had a good taste of VFL football, and hopefully they're all chomping at the bit for pre-season and have another pre-season and be fitter and stronger and understand what it takes, and have really good second years, and that builds to a better third year and all those sort of things. Because as we see, the likes of Joe Maishman that I mentioned, just getting better and better. Joe in his fourth year, he should be really excited about next pre-season in his fifth year. But it just takes time, and it's such a big step up the VFL from TAC Cup football or school football, local football. It just takes time to adjust and grow and get absorb the pressure and build themselves up physically and mentally to play at the level. So those youngsters coming through that showed good levels of talent, it's exciting, really pleasing that those guys have got a really good taste of it.
You mentioned Sam Collins, and it's probably hard to add much new to the conversation, but it's also hard to stop talking about him. I mean, it is quite extraordinary, isn't it, the fact that we're talking about a key defender, guys who, by rights are not supposed to be in discussions for things like Liston trophies. We're talking about him as a genuine possibility.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, we know that the most of the league best and fairest medals tend to be the domain of modern midfielder, with so many possessions in the game, more stoppages, I suppose, clearances, all those sorts of things. But 2008, a Werribee player, James Podsiadly, won the Liston Trophy. He kicked 70-odd goals that particular year. Collins has probably stopped 70-odd. So it'll depend a little bit on training during the week for the umpires. When they got in there on a Tuesday night and were talking about the game and talking about, number 15 for Werribee in the back line. And hopefully, through that awareness of Sam and the year he's had, when the umpires go out to umpire the next week, so to speak, and gee, this bloke, number 15, can really play, he'll definitely have some standout 3-vote games. No doubt about that. We all know that. But hopefully that increased awareness as the season went on. A couple of games where we got beaten, but he's played well. Maybe he might sneak in for a 1-vote and challenge a couple of the midfielders in the competition.
And the other aspect, or one of the other aspects to Liston Night as well, is the VFL Team of the Year, obviously. If not in contention for the Liston itself, you'd have to think Sam would feature pretty heavily there. But there could be a few other Werribee listed players as well.
Yeah, without a doubt. Tom Gribble's had a good year through the midfield, as has Sotomarco and Aylett. They've been really good players for us. And Corbett before injury, so that'll just depend. His numbers were really good, so it depends whether they're judging VFL Team of the Year over the whole course of the year or whether He is looked favourably upon, his 11 games. Hoops, I can't remember exactly how many goals, but he's ended up with for the year. But him and Munro have been consistent forward line players. So Coughlin had a solid year, McFarlane in the back half. So hopefully we'll have 3 or 4 guys in the mix for the VFL Team of the Year, which will be terrific recognition for some really good football that those men have played for our club.
You're obviously keen to ensure that the club keeps building really strongly after your departure. There's a bit of uncertainty around that. New coach yet to be appointed, but it seems that you're really confident in the structures that are underlying in the footy department to ensure that whoever that turns out to be, there'll be a smooth transition process.
Oh, without a doubt. I've got real confidence that the club's in a really good position, and that's part of the reason why I feel good about moving on as a Werribee past player. I'm really passionate about the club, so it would have been harder to walk away had it been 12 months ago maybe, and we're still getting changed in the compound with the shipping containers and so forth. But now we're here, this setup, new facility, good, strong welfare model, medical support, coaching, footy department's in really good condition. The new coach will walk into a strong footy club that's headed in the right direction.
John, we'll hold off on the misty-eyed farewells for the time being.
Please.
Because we've still got Bruce Montgomery presentation night here at Chirnsides by the River for our audience watching at home on September 27th. So we might save it for then. But thanks very much for your time, and we'll catch you at Bruce Montgomery night in a few weeks.
Likewise. Thanks, Mitch. Cheers.